Still in, yeah, maybe later. We'll find it. Well, I still didn't do any good.
Once in a while a red light comes on, and I don't know why, it's a little confusing. The red light comes on, I have to push the button to pass it. I don't know what's causing the red light. Yeah, remember, it's a streetcar line, not a high-speed railway.
sometimes you have to install it and run every car you got through, and sometimes it needs adjustment. So, but I'm just going to use my basic formula that I use to install wire frogs, and we'll see what I can come up with here.
Have a model that was judged, please come up and you have your model. Thank you.
Right now we're at the East Penn Trolley meet here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's every 2 years. COVID made a shift from May until October, so that's why we're doing it now. But there's so much here, the camaraderie, the help you get.
The East Penn Traction Club is what puts this show on every other year. This is our 25th year, I think, so 50 years ago we started doing it. And it's grown over the years. As you can see, you have a couple modules. I had about 10 feet of HO module that we used to bring up. And it's grown to a couple hundred members, I guess, worldwide. And other fellows have built modules and modules where they're all built to a certain size. They can be put together in any combination. You can go up and make a U-turn, 90-degree turn here, and put another module. And up there, a couple of modules have a nice bridge section like going over a creek or whatever. And it's each guy's individual idea, but they're built to a certain measurement that they all can be incorporated together. And then the dealers, most of the dealers are just people who live at home. Some of them are hobby shops, but most of them are just an out-of-the-basement guy, especially in O-scale, because O-scale is kind of a dying art. It's more HO railroad stuff nowadays than there is O-scale.
You know, you come to a meet like this, and there's people here from Wisconsin that have brought their layouts here and get together, and I get to see what they have. All I could see was photos and videos before. I finally get to see the real thing, and I'm standing there, you know. Of course, they keep over here doing the same thing for ours.
I mean, that's what I say. It started out basically as a Philadelphia club. And I'm from Wilmington, Delaware, but we had a couple of Delaware people. Most of the guys were in the general area of Philly, but it's grown over the 50 years. We have members in Australia and over in Europe and Japan and all. Most of them don't come to the shows. We usually have a monthly meeting at somebody's house, but for the last year since it's been done, we just do it online, talking what's going on, setting things up. Maybe the officers get together when they have to get, say vote on, have this hall. This is the third year we've been up here.
What's the fascination with trolleys? They run in the streets. Also, they run through town, not around town. They run through town, through the urban scenery, through the countryside. They had destinations out of town, like a park. You can look at any system in the United States. They always had a park. They ran downtown. And look at what they did, what kind of equipment they ran. And Bowser comes out with these beautiful trolleys, the PCCs. Bachman comes out with Spectrum with the Peter Witts, based in the Baltimore. They run beautifully. So in 8 feet, I was able to complete a layout. See, freight trains, they run from one point to another. Our passenger train run from one city to another. And you sit there and look at a layout and say, okay, is that the third or fourth time that freight train came through? Whereas with a trolley, you expect to see that because you're running a loop to a loop. What more prototype can you have than that? So why am I into trolleys? Space, prototypical operation. Knowing a little about electronics and background, I work with relay logic, build my own rather than going into all the solid state stuff that you need just to detect the 2-rail, because this is just like running a Lionel train set. Center rail on a Lionel, tin plate, your 3-rail, is your hot, and your common's on the outside. Just take that center rail and put it overhead, and make your center and make your curve sharper, and you're running trolleys. Simple as that.
Well, I guess it's something we remember from when we were kids. We used to ride the trolleys when we went places. And later on, summertime when we'd go to swim at a river or a pool, we'd ride the trolleys to go there. So it's just part of our past. And it is in the model railroading family. And it's more compact. You can have a small layout like this in a 2x4 space. You could have a more complex layout too by having another line right off the edge here to a loop at the other end.
Well, because 50 years ago, most of the members were older guys that rode trolley cars. And trolleys was not a big hobby, really. I mean, railroading was, always has been, from Lionel on up the scale. But trolleys was never really a big thing until about 50 years ago, a whole bunch of guys joined a railroad club in Philadelphia. It was in the B&O station in Philly. And then the railroad guys weren't happy with the trolley guys. Because it goes back to the real thing. Railroad people didn't like trolley people, and trolley people didn't like railroad people. Because each one stole the other guy's business.
I don't know why we all love trolleys, but all of us in the group, we fell in love with traction modeling and urban cars. Most of us grew up in the southern Wisconsin, southeast Wisconsin area, where the North Shoreline was prevalent. We had the South Shoreline in Chicago. So we all grew up in that area knowing what was there. We were always fascinated by it. We always knew like the Illinois Terminal existed, the Milwaukee Electric Railway. It was, it's great to be able to keep this history alive because a lot of people nowadays don't even know about it, don't know what these, know what this stuff existed. And it's just been fantastic to keep that alive. Plus it's so cool. We're one of the only modeling forms that run just like the prototype because you have a steam layout and they're running with electricity. We're running with electricity, but it's just like the prototype, so it's so fun, especially at regular train shows where the families will come up and ask, is the wire energized? And we'll pop the pole off and it'll stop, and it's just so cool, and it's just another challenge to the hobby that you don't get with any other form of model railroading. So it's been fantastic, and we love it.
Hi, I'm Don Yingling, and this is my layout, the Cador's Valley Traction Company. It's 2 modules. They're both 4 feet long. The one here by me, the city portion, is 2 feet wide, and the park module is 20 inches wide. The difference in sizes was for where they fit in the house. And so many people know about that. Let's see. Started back in 2015, I believe I started this. And just progressed from there, from the bare homicide. And I keep adding something or doing something to it each year. Adding lights, adding buildings, adding relays underneath to control the overhead, and some detection. It's aggravating at times, but it works. Some little features I put in right now is stopping here for the traffic light. And that's an Arduino I programmed underneath with a relay on one output. So that light turns red, the trolley stops. Also the crossing signals here, it's all done by detection. And of course he stops every 5 seconds. Lights come on and he progresses through. So what do I do to build this thing? Okay, it's all ore track. Some places I've used some Code 100 Flex, but it's Richard ore rail, then it's soldered to PC ties, which are of course glued to the home store. The highway, I use DAS clay in the center, along with a roller I modified from Shapeways to give the brick effect. The sub under the road is 332nd balsa wood with 2mm foam sheet put on top. So the actual color of the roadway is the actual color of the foam sheet. Works very well because it happens to be the same height with the 332nd balsa and the foam sheet as the 60 thousandths PC board and 100 thousandths rail. They come to the same height. So I get a nice smooth finish. Lighting, all 5 volts. I've been using phone chargers. Keep it simple. That's all you need to get the 5 volts for the street lights. They're all set up for 12 volts with the resistors, excuse me, on the LEDs. And feed 5 volts into them, you get a nice glow. And that's what I'm striving to do here without blinding anybody out. Trees are a mixture of kits, woodland scenics, pre-built, and some other ones I got offline that are already made. Just block them a little bit and stick them in. On the part module, that's a 7-inch radius on there. And of course the ore turnouts, everything are 6 1/8. The Bowser's running great on its 7-inch radius. This end are at 8-inch. The Bachman Spectrum Peter Witz, they run great on 7-inch too.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, it just goes back to the original guy, Everett Wood, that come up with the idea. Then what it was is somebody like you come to a show and says, I like to have something railroad at home, but I don't have room. Well, and actually, O-scale trolley, you can do more with this in a little area than you can with an HO railroad. Because these turn sharper radiuses than an HO train does. Most of this equipment will take a 12-inch radius, which HO trains usually need 24-inch radius at the minimum, 18 at the very minimum, and you're really on selective equipment then. And so you actually can do a fair amount in a very small, like a spare bedroom. You can have a nice little layout.
Well, like so many of us, we get started in the trains probably when Dad brought home a train to set up around the Christmas tree. And that was an American Flyer, the first one I remember. Then he got into the HO. And as I grew older, I wanted to do something, but I wanted to put more in a smaller area. So I went to N scale on a 4x8. Well, I made a few mistakes on there. I would use the HO clearances for N scale, and that doesn't work because the grades are too steep. So that sat for years, and I joined the club when I came out of service. And it was all HO, and guys were talking to me different things. Like, I was fascinated with the trolleys because I was an electrician all my life, 37 and a half years as an industrial maintenance electrician. So I had some background on electricity and electric overhead. You know, it's like that's what the prototype did. When they ran a trolley or electrified railroad, it was off the wire up top. So after many years of hem hawing and getting away from that group, I decided I'm going to do it myself. It fascinates me, and I'm going to make it work. So I thought, all right, how sharp will this work? and an HO layout will fit with the sharp curves, just what you can do with N scale. N scale you need takes less space. Well, so does Trolleys, so does traction. When you talk making a 7-inch radius turn, that's only 14 inches wide, center to center, and I'm only 18 inches wide on this module, so I have plenty of room for scenery. You have plenty of room for buildings.
We're looking at an HO gauge trolley layout that has a number of trolleys from Boston, Massachusetts on it. It's running on DCC currently, and we have independent control of the cars. This being a loop, we only run one car at a time, but that's what it is. The layout is about 10 years old. Brian and I built it on one of my workbenches, and it's been running reliably since then.
Well, this is the Northwest Traction Group layout. The layout here is what we call the heritage layout because it is all single track, and that is what the group started as. The layout off to your left is the North Shore layout, which some of the other members of the group have started because they like to model the North Shore line. The layout, the Northwest Traction Group was started in the 1970s by a group of traction modelers in the Chicago area, and they showed their layout at many shows for the last 40 years. And I started helping them out about 10, 15 years ago, and I got real close to them. And the guys 5 years ago decided that we can no longer do shows anymore. We're in our 70s, we're in our 80s, and we're just not physically able to do it anymore. So I ended up taking over, and my friends Mike Slater, Eric O'Malley, Chris Schmidt, they all stepped up to the plate and helped me take over the group. And we've been doing shows now on our own for the past 5 years. We've been to East Penn twice now with layouts, and we plan to be back to East Penn in 23. And it's been a great run, and we're really excited about everything that we're doing and building. All the new modules that we're building, all the old ones that we're refurbishing and keep running, and it's just been a great time. Yeah, and each module is all different. Some are prototypical, some are fictional. For example, this module here, Beerfield, is just a fictional trolley loop in somewhere in mid-America, whereas the module down here, Monticello, is based on a prototype on the Illinois Terminal Railroad, and most of the guys, they will do everything. They'll do the wire, the track, the scenery. Some of the more recent modules that we've built, the guys will build the modules and I'll come in and do the overhead, and we'll all just put our own spin on certain things, and we just have a really great time doing it, and it's fantastic. We're so happy to be doing this, and we love it.
So if you get out someplace, train shows, go out to see them, you say, I don't have any money to go to a trade show. Go look at the layouts, get inspired. See what they did, see what they have, and see if I can fit into yours.